I think the date is July 14th, right? On my calendar watch. July 13th, is it? July 13th, 2000, in the beautiful bright sunshine on what we used to affectionately and still do call the old base oval, the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. And we're here for the second annual PARC Open House. Denny Doyle, who's in charge of public relations for this here organization. Good to see you again, my friend.
Always a pleasure, Gordy.
How's the golf swing?
Not bad, not bad. Played yesterday, played pretty well. So.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you go to Myrtle Beach this year?
Yes, I did.
How did I guess that? I went for a week too on May 19th. When were you down there?
We were down there in March, and we hit perfect weather while we were there. It was absolutely perfect, yep.
Except in March, you never quite know whether it's going to be perfect or not.
You don't know, but we had a deal we couldn't refuse.
Story of his life. Deals you couldn't refuse. We're here at about 18 minutes before 12 to try to watch the setup procedure, because at 12 o'clock today, the second annual open house begins. And it enjoyed pretty good success last year, didn't it?
Yeah, we were surprised for the first time out. A little more than 2,000 people turned out. And they seemed to enjoy it, and they indicated that they'd come back again. So that's why we decided to make it an annual event.
And I'll bet you there are more than 2,000 people will find their way out here today. You've been getting some good publicity. Newspaper had a nice story. I'm sure the other media will show up throughout the course of today. And I don't know how many businesses you hope for, 27 or how many?
You mean businesses that are exhibiting here today? Oh, we're over 40.
Are you over 40?
Over 40, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. A pretty good range of them, too. Everybody from the Adirondack Humane Society to Pratt & Whitney. And you should make sure you stop by a lot of the booths and talk to the people. They'd love to see you.
You know, we're absolutely going to do that, try to stop and talk to as many people as we can, because we're kind of proud, and I know you are, because you see it every day of your life, kind of proud of what's happening here with PARC.
Well, it's been a very productive year. As a matter of fact, Gordy, the surprise to me was one of my tasks in relation to this event is to script it so that when the tour guides go out, they have an idea of what we want to say and what we want to show people. Well, last year we did the tour in about 35 minutes, and this year, because of the growth and the additional tenants to see out there, we're closing in on an hour, and that's going pretty fast.
Well, maybe we can attach ourselves to one of these tour guides.
We might be able to do that. We might be able to get you into a van and give you a special tour of your own.
That's great. We want to stop around and see the people who are exhibiting here. Besides the regular PARC tenants, there are car dealers from the area?
Yes, we invited car dealers. Last year, Bill McBride Chevrolet sponsored a hot air balloon that we had here. And we decided this year, to be fair to everybody, we'd invite all the new car dealers in town. We couldn't invite everybody that sells automobiles, and every one of them responded.
Did they really?
Yes, they did.
We're going to have a balloon here today, right?
We're supposed to have a balloon here today, but whether they inflate it or not is questionable because of the wind.
It's kind of brisk.
Yeah.
We don't want to see them crashing into something. No. We understand there will be a flyover of another kind.
Well, that'll happen later this afternoon. We already had one. Yes,
I missed it.
The Vermont Air National Guard F-16s buzzed our flight line this morning
really?
Right around 10 a.m.
Oh, no, that would have been nice to see.
They flew overhead. It was impressive. Yeah, there were 4 aircraft, and we arranged for them to do that while they were coming back from their normal training flight, and it was wonderful of them to accommodate us.
Why is it important to have an open house out here?
We'll let people know what's happening at PARC. The community was devastated when the Air Force left, and we think we're making some progress. We also like to get some exposure for our tenants, too. A lot of them are newcomers to this community, and they like to feel like they're a part of it. And when we decided to put this event on, their response was overwhelming. Just about everybody who can be here is here today.
A lot of what happens in PARC is not necessarily behind closed doors, but behind the scenes, with the exception of the meetings, which are covered by the media. A lot of things happen, high-level discussions and trying to get new people in here. So it is an opportunity for the to kind of assuage those bad feelings when the Air Force left, and make people know that, hey, we are making progress here, because a lot of bases that closed have had really, really tough times.
Well,
and it wasn't a foregone conclusion that things were going to work out well here, and now it has.
There were two items I'd like to touch on in that regard. If I didn't lose my recall, but one of them is we're proud to show this place because if you walk around or drive around this area, take a good close look at the property. Our buildings and grounds people keep it immaculate, and other bases can't say that. We have visitors who come here who are familiar with other bases, and we're not going to name them, but they see this place and they say, "Wow, it looks like this place never closed," and that's a tribute to the people who take care of it. And the other item I wanted to mention is that you mentioned about things happening that we really can't talk about. As we speak, there are a couple of prospective tenants on campus right now.
Oh, come on, we
looking
want
this
the
over.
scoop, Dennis.
I can't do that.
But isn't that great?
We have non-disclosure agreements with these
I know
people,
that.
and timing is important.
Absolutely.
We try not to report on things until we're absolutely sure that they're going to happen. It isn't fair to the community, it isn't fair to the companies, it isn't fair to PARC.
We're standing on history here. I mean, we talk a lot on this program about the history of the North Country, Battle of Plattsburgh, War of 1812, the military presence off and on through many, many years here on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. This old base oval, I mean, I've seen all the old photographs, and it's wonderful. I've been to how many exercises, change of command exercises here on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. I've seen a lot of history in the last 40 years or so that I've been around here. Before that, a lot of history transpired. So this is if there ever was hallowed ground, I think we're standing on it.
We're standing on it. There's a lot of history in the tour. That was an exercise that I enjoyed putting together the script for the tour. Is that I had to learn a lot about what's going on the oval here, and just right down here at the far end of the oval on the north side, the northeast side, is the site of the former Fort Moreau, and that was the line where the Americans stopped the British in the War of 1812, and it's right here on this property. There's some tremendous landmarks here. We're very proud of it.
And not only just in this area, but in the general area. There was another fort right on the base property and another fort right along U.S. Avenue.
Fort Brown, yes.
Fort Brown.
Yeah.
And the three forts.
People went through here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, our visitors will go by the old stone barracks, and I don't know if our readers will have a time to tell them, but U.S. Grant lived in that building when he was a lieutenant. And some of these officers' quarters along the north side of the oval, General Douglas MacArthur lived there. General Wainwright lived there. Teddy Roosevelt Jr. lived there. Some of the more famous
just to name a few,
yeah,
right?
Just to name a few. Who else? Matt Clark lived there. Some very famous generals in our military history.
And you know, just since my association with the Plattsburgh Air Force Base began in the mid-50s when they started to build the place, I've known a lot of people who were pretty famous when they came here, and some that went on to become big-time generals after they left here. And so this has been a stomping grounds for a lot of famous people down through the years. And this whole area was proud of Plattsburgh Air Force Base and is proud of what PARC is trying to do, because it's all part of this burgeoning economy that we have in the North Country. And you and I are, as Calvin and I say every time we turn the camera on, we're making history right here today.
Absolutely.
Right, Dennis?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I think it's fun being part of this. I didn't really have to be when I retired from SUNY Plattsburgh, but it's just very, very enjoyable to see the momentum that is growing here. And when I first became involved with PARC, that wasn't happening. There was an awful lot of bickering going on, and we've kind of turned a corner on that. We're taking the high ground now, and everybody seems to be on board. There's nothing but good things ahead of us, and we're seeing this area start to grow, and it's going to prosper. And it kind of defeats the old adage that when I was here years ago, that the North Country is remote and isolated and you can't get businesses here. Well, when you're as close as we are to Montreal, which is now the largest seaport on the East Coast and cheap to ship out of, and when you're close, 4 or 5 hours from New York City and Boston. You're not isolated. We've got beautiful roads. We've got a multimodal capacity on the airbase. I call it the airbase PARC now. With a world-class airfield, we've got rail service almost right to the door of our tenants. It's just prime.
He's got the pitch, doesn't he? He's got the pitch. We can't help but be enthusiastic about this property. I mean, my gosh, all the times we've been here for various functions, and now to see it, as you said, kept up the way it is. We saw Randy Beach when we were parking our car. Talk about history. He was driving his antique, what is that, a Packard?
I don't know, I didn't see it.
Yeah, man, he was really tooling, coming right into the parking place, getting ready. He's been a big part of the organization.
Into that. One of the things we'll be showing our visitors as they take a tour of the new base is a brand new building we just finished. It's 76,000 square feet. We broke ground sometime in March. It's ready to be occupied, and the good side of the story is that we have a tenant for that building before it's finished.
Isn't that great?
Yes, it is, and that's one of the tenants we can't talk about yet until they're ready, until they tell us. But that it was such a successful venture that we're looking at putting up 2 additional buildings.
Oh, that's really great. Clinton Community College looking at having some dorm space down here. That's pretty decent.
That's on the tour. They're taking one of the former dorms and they're going to convert it, renovate it, and make it livable for about 80 students. And that's good for them because it's going to enhance their enrollments.
The process of making this transition from the United States government to the ownership here is not an easy one. As you said, it was fraught with frustration right from the very beginning. Not only because of the people who were originally organized PARC, but for just the nature of the beast. But now we've got a CEO and President Dan Winnicky who has gained so much respect, not only here, but around the world for what he's trying to do at PARC. And that's pretty decent too.
Oh, he's a dynamic leader and one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. It's a pleasure to work with him. You know where you stand all the time, and he's a good listener, and he's quick to make decisions, and you have to have that.
Not afraid to tackle the knottiest problems head on, and there are knotty problems that come up every cotton picking day.
Every day, you're right.
Yeah. Well, Dan's a good guy. We hope to see him today if we can catch him, because he'll be running from place to place, but he'll be here.
I'll grab him by the elbow and I'll drag him over to you.
Dennis, thank you so much for introducing us to the second annual PARC open house on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. I know it's going to have been a great day. The good Lord above and the weatherman are in cahoots today with somebody. You couldn't ask for a better day.
No, it's a perfect day, and we were a little bit worried about that, the way this summer has been going weather-wise. So we did luck out.
I think it's great. Thanks again. We'll have a good day, Dan.
Enjoy yourself, Gordy.
Thanks a lot. Well, we don't have a tour guide for this presentation, but we'd like to have you see some of the exhibits in the Pratt & Whitney tent. You know, Pratt & Whitney is one of the major clients here, tenants on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, and that was a big day when they announced Pratt & Whitney would be here. They do a great deal, bring jobs to the area, and yes, the military, that is the aircraft presence, is one of the things that they've been looking for a long, long time, and there are several connections, as you'll learn in the course of our tour today. Just take a look at this equipment and get an idea. I have no idea what these numbers mean, but this turbofan and the huge engine right next to us, Pratt & Whitney dependable engines, it says, and these displays are available for the public to come in. Mind you, it's only 2 minutes after noon. The open house does not start till 12 o'clock. Last year they had some 2,000 people throughout the displays, and I wouldn't be surprised if they double or triple that number before we're finished here today. Bring the kids. I hope you... We're not broadcasting this live, but I hope the kids and families do come out here, because it was a great deal of fun to tour the base when the base was a military presence, and now it's just as much fun to come out here and do it all over again. We're in the Pratt & Whitney tent. For those people who come here during the course of the afternoon, they'll get to, I'm sure, see these things. I mentioned also that there will be tours of the entire facility for prospective business people, for local businessmen and families who want to just drive around the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base to see what's happening. And I'm sure that even though Calvin and I get an opportunity to come out here on this property relatively often, many of our viewers do not. It's a special place. Calvin, I just noticed that through the trees over here to my left, you can see the McDonough Monument. It's kind of a neat view from here, and I didn't realize that near that end of the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. And yes, there is a mix of the old and the new. The old buildings that are still here on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, especially on the old base side, right here on this parade grounds, or oval as it's called, and all the new businesses that have come in here just within the last 12 months. It's amazing. We see a stage set up right in front of us. There is a DJ making announcements and music being played throughout the day. There is the Battle of Plattsburgh Bateau right over yonder, and we'll be getting to talk with some of those people. They're just setting up the oars. Calvin and I spent a very rainy day, Calvin, didn't we, when they put that thing in the water? But they had the rooster there. The rooster, and that's the name of it, and a real rooster, and you and me and rain slicks. And
we didn't like the water any more than the rooster did.
No, we didn't. But it's proved to be a very seaworthy bateau. And as many of our viewers might be aware, they found several historic crafts underwater in Lake Champlain since that time. One of them is a gig, and one of them is a bateau, and there are other things to be discovered, other things that were discovered to be explored this summer. So lots of things are happening on the shores of Lake Champlain and on and under the waters of Lake Champlain. I heard somebody promoting this day in this area. I don't know if it was Gary Douglas, but somebody with as much passion as Gary Douglas that said, hey, oh, I know who it was, Dan Stewart, talking about the motorcycle group that's planning to come in here, and they hope for several thousand motorcyclists comparing. He said, I don't want to compare with Lake George, because, you know, they have the Americade down there, and I don't know how many thousand bikers they have, but he said, our lake is much bigger than their lake. The rate of development has been a little bit different, and I can't blame them for wanting to get the bikers here for tourism, because very often when they built the Northway, we thought it was going to be a boon to tourism. Guess what? They just went zipping on by at 55 miles an hour, then 65 miles an hour. Now we're doing whatever we can to bring them back. Things like this will help, Calvin, right?
It all adds into the mix, Gordy, and not wanting to be like Lake George to me is a plus. I don't think I'd want to live in Lake George in the summer.
It's a very, very busy place, but it's like comparing Plattsburgh and Burlington, for example. Burlington's a wonderful place. They got a great waterfront. They got a great church street. They got a great bike path. But guess what? We're developing at our own pace over here, and we're pretty proud of the way things are happening. And I heard them talking about the biking on both sides of the lake and up in Canada. And I forgot how many miles of bike paths are going to end up with, but that's going to be pretty fantastic all by itself. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I know that bike paths are the thing of the future, but again, you want to not just bike by, you want them to stop once in a while and spend $1.
Well, they got car dealers here today. They got somebody selling Michigans for $1 and soda machines that are selling soda for $0.25. When's the last time you bought a can of soda for $0.25, Cal?
1966.
Yeah, a long, long time ago. We're going to make our little tour around, see what interesting people we can meet, and what interesting things we can see for the second annual PARC Open House on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. Last year, 1999, we made a point during our tour of our PARC clients to stop at the Wood Group Aero on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. We were impressed then, and we're impressed now. We got a whole cotton picking engine out here, and a young man that's going to talk about it. Who are you?
I'm Bob Kashtek. I'm the Plattsburgh Operations Manager for Wood Group.
Bob, we're glad to have you here today. This is, boy, what a beautiful day for an open house.
Could be snowing sideways, so it's pretty nice.
This is pretty nice on the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base Oval. And a very nice display of companies and things here. How long has Wood Group been here?
Wood Group actually was the first tenant on the new base. We've been here a little over 4 years now, and we rebuild and test aircraft engines here and test industrial gas turbines.
Let's tell me a little bit about the operation. I know a lot of people, when the air base closed, they were hoping that there would be some kind of an aircraft presence here, and here we are.
We have part of it. We have the engine itself. Wood Group is based out of East Windsor, Connecticut. There's several divisions down there. The engines are mostly worked in the Connecticut facilities, and then they're sent to us for test.
What's involved in testing an engine?
Quite a bit, actually. We could simulate exactly how the engine would fly on the aircraft, or I should say run on the wing of the jet. We could mount it exactly how it would mount on the wing, and we could actually read a lot more off of the engine than they could on the wing of the jet. We could read certain pressures and speeds that the aircraft cannot read, and we could then take that and plot it against graphs and charts and ensure that the engine operates the way it should according to the manual, the original manual that the engine was manufactured under.
What kind of clients do you have? Do you have major airlines? Do you have...
Some. Most of them are cargo. This engine right here is actually Airborne Express. We do work for Emery Worldwide, American Transair, and a few others.
That's great. And you're as busy as you want to be, or you're still in the process of growing? Or
We're pretty busy right now. We're as busy as we'd want to be right now. It's kind of nice.
How big a staff?
Staff of 8 people right now.
Do you have all the equipment you need? Were you able to take advantage of anything that was already in place here?
Actually, the building itself, it's a unique building. It's called a test cell. It's a
we were in there.
You've been in there. It's a noisy building.
That's great. I love it.
It's a building specifically designed for testing aircraft engines and testing only. That's about all you could use it for. So it was a real good find, and it really helped our company with turn times to get the engines back to the customers as quickly as possible without having to use another company for testing them, which costs a lot of money. You have to wait for them. You're kind of at their mercy. So it worked out really well. The equipment was in really nice shape. We did some modifications to bring it up to time, but other than that, it's worked out really well.
That's great. We really enjoyed our last tour of that facility. Where are you originally from, Bob?
I'm originally from northeastern Pennsylvania, but I've been here with the military from '84 until the base
closed.
Oh, you
were?
Yes.
I forgot that.
And then I stayed right here, so I've been up here for about 16 years now.
You might tend to like this place if you stick around.
I believe so.
On a day like today, on the shores of Lake Champlain, with all the things we've mentioned and all the things that are left unsaid, it is a pretty darn nice place to live and work, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is. Great place to raise a family. A lot of beautiful scenery around here, and it is a lot to do if you get out and do it.
And there's a lot of nice people up here. We've said that. The people up here in Clinton County in northern New York are a special breed, aren't they?
Oh, most definitely. Unlike any others.
So they've treated your organization pretty well here at PARC, huh?
I believe so. Welcome with open arms. I think if they treat us or treat other companies half as well as they treated us, they'll have no problem succeeding.
Do you have any secret plans that you care to reveal to us today, Robert?
No, not really. Just business as usual. We're just going to keep testing as many as we can and as often as we can, and we'll take it from there.
Well, we thank you so much for being a congenial host. Have a great day, Bob.
Thanks a lot.
We're just making the tour here at former Plattsburgh Air Force Base for the second annual PARC Open House on a day that I now know is July 13th, right, Calvin? In 2000. Who are you?
Jim McConnell.
Jim, where are we and what company do you represent?
I work for Wabtec here on Plattsburgh Air Force Base.
Tell me about it.
We build railroad air conditioning units, heating and air
That's an air conditioning unit?
That's a 10-ton air conditioning unit.
Whoa, baby. I don't think I got room for it in my house. Well, that would go on a railroad train?
Yes, this one is a rooftop mount.
No kidding.
This is for the Los Angeles bi-level units that we're constructing right now.
Do you work at all with Bombardier? No?
Yes, we have a couple contracts that we're doing from Bombardier, which is Los Angeles. We got the high-speed Northeast Corridor we're building air conditioning units for.
No kidding.
And several others we've had with Bombardier.
So this would be for one car?
One car.
It's just amazing. The size of it overwhelms me. What's your job with the company?
I'm quality assurance. I go over all their work, inspect it, and make sure they're doing it correctly.
Make sure all the screws are tight and all the bolts are in the right places, and that's wonderful. How big a organization is that here?
I think right now we're got about 50 people.
That's pretty good size.
Yep. It is.
And you're located where, on the new portion?
On the new base, the old supply building,
Oh, it is?
base supply building.
Oh, I know where that is. Okay, 50 people. How long you been with them?
I've been with them about a year and a half.
Are you a native of this area, or did you go there?
No, I met my wife when I was in the Air Force and stayed here.
Isn't that amazing how many people connected with PARC now were in the Air Force? And
There's a lot of us.
So you're originally from where?
Pennsylvania.
Bob was from Pennsylvania. That's cool. And you came here in the Air Force. What years were you here?
I got here in '79.
He is a little older than he looks, isn't he? And your wife was a local girl?
Yes, she was.
And what made you come back?
Oh, I got stationed here and never left.
Really?
I got out of the Air Force and worked for the phone company on the base.
Isn't that amazing? You know how many times that's happened? And it's a story that we've told. There's something that does attract people up here. It's a mix of things. It's the area.
Yep.
It's the people. It's the good fishing. It's the good schools.
The women.
Yeah, it's the women. It's the women.
It'd have to be.
But it is a pretty good place to live. Hey, there's Ronnie Ben. Just saw him walking by. We'll talk to him in a minute too. Jim, what else can you tell me about this business? You make only air conditioning units?
At this plant here, we make air conditioning units. We also have another part that makes door openers and doors for buses, rail cars, and like that. Westinghouse is multifaceted. They're best known for their air brakes, but they make everything.
Is this the biggest air conditioning unit you make here?
This is probably a smaller one. We built
my
one
God,
for
there's
Long
bigger
Island.
ones?
Long Island was larger than this,
Isn't that?
and that was a rooftop.
That to me is amazing. How could you tell? Do you know how many BTUs something like this would put out? I mean, we talk about our 5,000 and our 10,000 BTU air conditioners at home. This one has got to be some multiple of that, but I wouldn't have any idea. This, and you say this, is this just a display model, or is this going to somebody?
This will be shipped out.
It
This
will.
is, yep.
It'll be out of here. Probably already sold, right?
Oh, yes, it has.
Jim, we're glad you decided to stay in the North Country. Do you have a family?
Yes, I do.
Tell me about it.
I met my wife here. She works for what used to be the Air Base Credit Union. I got a son and daughter.
Oh, that's great. They both live here too?
Yes, they do.
That's great. Jim,
They're still in school.
Are they?
Yes.
Jim, thanks for having us here today. Good luck for the open house.
Thank you.
Well, now, we're standing outside the tents. This is not one of the exhibitors here today, but a good friend of ours. Believe me, if you don't know who this guy is, you have never seen the program called Our Little Corner before. Because to say that he's a frequent guest would be an understatement, perhaps the understatement of the century. His name is Ron Venn from 72 Bailey Avenue. He's been the subject of no less than 8 segments of Our Little Corner. And goodness knows there are probably about 8 more or 10 more at his house and his property for us to go through later on. How are you, Ron?
Okay.
Haven't talked to you in a little while.
Haven't seen you in a while.
I heard you were building a Lozier car.
I'm building 2.
Oh, you have to make 2, do you?
Well, one painted, the other's going to be in wood stain color. So far I got the wheels done, I got the frame done, transmission's done, and the differential's done. So right now I'm working on the leaf springs. I'm going to start working on the engine pretty soon.
Now, I managed to find an old newspaper with some pretty good photographs. Were you able to use any of that stuff to look at?
Yeah, I will when I start working on the engine, mostly for detail work and like that. Because I found out that the Lozier car had 2 ignition systems. It had 12 spark plugs. You could run the engine on 12 volt, or if that gave out, you could go on magneto.
You could run the engine on 12 volt in the early 1900s?
I think so.
Holy mackerel, because most of the old cars I ever had were 6 volt. That's why you can hardly see going down the road with them.
Well, there might be a 6 volt, but they had 2 ignition systems. One had magneto, in case the other one might have something wrong with it. So.
The history of the Lozier automobile is directly connected with the city of Plattsburgh, as we know, one of those buildings down at Georgia Pacific. You've been inside that building, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been inside, where the car was assembled and like that.
For our next tour bus to be loading.
And I see there's a doctor looking for one. what they had in the paper about last week there.
Don't you wish you could find one?
Yeah,
Have you ever seen a real one?
Never seen a real one.
Neither have I. I've seen parts, only car parts.
Well, at the Feinberg Library, they got I think 2 or 3 colored pictures of somebody took, I don't know where, in color at some museum. But on the back, it don't say where the museum is.
Excuse me, folks. That's 2 minutes for our tour bus to be departing. Our tour bus
So I'm working on that, and then I had to build a miniature sawmill for a cousin of mine up in Saranac.
Did you build one sawmill already?
Yeah, it's a portable bandsaw mill. It's pulled by a truck. This is a permanent one that's up behind my cousin's house there. And it's a circular saw. It's got a 4-cylinder case engine that runs it. He cuts some lumber now. He's retired from the conservation department. That's at Victorville there. And so I had to go up there and take pictures of that, sketch certain parts of that, and detail that. So they went and picked that up last Friday. I guess they're supposed to give it to him for a surprise or something.
Oh, that'll be neat. Yeah, because he just retired last year, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Hope he doesn't watch this show.
A big surprise, huh?
His mother does.
Yeah. And listen, I heard that you were contacted by a gentleman from Vermont that we know and love. What's his name? Gary Chartrand.
Yeah.
I'm so wonderful on name. He's my good friend. His name is... And Calvin says, Gary Chartrand, the guy collects all the old newspapers and stuff. Gary talked to you about possibly building a replica of the Confiance or the Confiance, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, he called me up on a Monday night, wanted to know if I could build a replica of the Confiance. So I told him I could, but I says, right now I'm building a Lozier car. So when I get this done, I told him I could probably try and start drawing that up. I already drew up the prints for the Eagle. I got to build a copy of that for Nancy Donahoe here. So she wants it about like 2 feet long, and
Wouldn't that be nice?
so So when I do that, I'm gonna do both ships at the same time.
You notice that behind us somewhere off in the distance is that wonderful old boat,
Yeah,
the Rooster.
yeah, the rooster. I was looking-
Here, and somebody made a copy, a replica of that.
Yeah.
He belongs to some woodworking organization, and we talked with Pat Schwartz at the Interpretive Center a few days ago, and he delivered it there, and it's about 3 feet long, and the detail is wonderful. You ought to take a walk up there and see it sometime.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great replica. A lot of people make models here. No, I doubt if anybody's made as many and as interesting and unique models as you have. How many models all told, counting all your guns, counting all your World War II scenes? How many do you think you've made? Want to take a guess? 100?
About 200, something like that.
200
You
or
can see-
more?
Yeah, I can see some I made and some I built for other people.
Yeah, some you don't even have anymore.
I haven't got it anymore. That castle I haven't got here. The sawmill I haven't got. They picked that up last Friday. So. I finished my fairground entrance.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, let me see if I can remember how many. Gee, I'm going to wreck how many shingles? 500 and... Oh, 533. I was going to say 532. I would have been one off.
Then the people I ordered finally came in, so I got them in. They're dressed like in 1925.
Oh, that'd be close enough, huh?
Yeah, because the one I copied from 1916.
That's very interesting. Many of our viewers may not be aware of the fact that the former Clinton County Fairgrounds was just 100 feet behind Ron's house, right?
Yeah, that's where it was.
The entrance, anyway.
Yeah.
A long time ago, and Ron decided some time ago that he would just make a replica of the entrance based on a photograph, right?
Yeah, because I used to hear a lot of people talk about it, but I never seen it. So I had to go up to Feinberg and look for Wade Miller, and
Our good friend Wayne Miller.
to find out if I could find a picture of it. So I found it from a program from 1916, like the front of it. So that's what I went by. So I want to scale it down. I don't want to make it too big or too small. So I got it at a medium size. The next thing I had to find was people for it. I was trying to find people dressed at that time. So I found some in a place to sell mile railroads. It's for O scale, railroad, for the scale that I built it.
About the right size.
Yeah, about the right size, about 1 inch and 1/4 inch high. So I finished that a while ago. So then during this year, I've been drawing up plans for blueprints for my Lozier car. So I got that all done. So I started building it June 9th is when I started.
So you've been doing that for about a month and a week.
Yeah, off and on.
It takes time. This guy says he's built hundreds of models. It's not something that you buy in a store in a box and take the parts apart and put it together. It requires sometimes hundreds of hours for some of these more complicated models because, first of all, you have the research stage.
Yeah, I didn't have.
Then you have the design stage. He'll make blueprints.
Yeah.
Draw it out, try it, and then you have to determine what different raw materials you're going to use. You've used metal.
Yeah.
You've used plastic. You've used tin. You've used just about every substance known to man.
Little nails and steel.
Never let it be said that Gordy Little and Ron Venn would ever run out of steam. But the battery went dead, and we were just talking about those little nails. You used brass and...
brass rods, steel rods I'm going to use for linkage, like for the brakes, because I'm putting all the linkage in it. It's going to have cushion seats in it when I get done. It's going to have a top on it, steering wheel, all the stuff the way the car's fixed. And I got the mufflers made.
Do you really? Now, even though when you look at this model, you won't readily be able to see what's inside, Ron is a stickler for detail. And when you make an engine, you want it to look like a Lozier engine, don't you?
That's what I want it to look like. So I got photographs of that. But then I thought when I build it, no one will be able to see under. So what I do when I make my display base, I'm going to put a mirror underneath. So this you can see all the like gas tank, fuel lines, brake lines, all different types of linkage that, for shifting for the clutch and like that. So that's what I've been working on. Mostly early in the mornings or in the evening, because the rest of the time I'm busy either cutting lawns or working up in Saranac. So I haven't got much time during daytime.
We've talked to a number of people about photographs. Ron's old photographs, and he takes old photographs and then takes new ones at the same place. And those people who haven't seen the previous 8 programs that we did with Ron Venn, you'll get a chance to see them again if you watch your public access channel in the near future. Ron, thanks so much for talking with us. Have a great day, and one of these days we'll be knocking on your door again.
Okay. My garage is kind of full now. I'm only supposed to have a garage sale sometime the week after. So.
Great. Well, we'll be down to see you soon. Have a good one.
Okay, you
see
too.
you later, Ron.
At least it's not raining.
Yeah. Yes, the weather is perfect. We decided to go right to the top before we go any farther, but we filled in a little bit of time before we saw you. Dan Winnicky is the president CEO of PARC. And you've cut a nice niche for yourself out here.
Oh boy, what a beautiful day. All the people here. I just saw Janie walk by from Janelle, and she said, how fast a year goes. It was a year ago for the open house we signed her lease. And she's back here and she's expanding and she's got another new contract. And some of our other tenants, the Pratt Whitney Motors are here. The Pratt Whitney plane's going to fly over at 6 o'clock tonight.
Is it really?
For the Chamber Open House. We had the Burlington fighter planes flying over this morning. Every year it's just growing and getting bigger. And the only good news is, the real good news is that Bruce Stedman was in charge this year, not me. So Bruce is responsible for the weather, the tents, and everything good that's happening here today.
They seem to be well organized. You've got tours already underway as we're recording this at about 12:38 in the afternoon. Since noontime, tours have been happening.
Yes, so we've had 3 tours go off already since 12 o'clock, and people are coming and having lunch and walking around and just sharing, all the experiences and the good fortune that the park in the North Country has had out here at the former air base for the last year. And hopefully we can continue it in the future.
Last time we talked to you, life was exciting, and I know tremendous things have happened since then. I was looking down the list of some of the newer clients in here just in the last 12 months. You've done some pretty amazing things.
We've done some really good things. We built a new building in a year, 76,000 square feet. 50,000 is currently starting to be occupied with an option on the other 25. We're looking to break ground PARC for a new building and 3 new deals that we're working on. We could have 3 more buildings or 4 new buildings breaking ground before fall. The company that rented our large building, we haven't even announced yet, but their PR people or human resources people are inside, and they're conducting interviews and hiring people for all this week. As we speak.
Wow.
So it's really great. It's just really great. And then last night you hear the bad news about the factory closing down in Malone, and golly, I wish we could get some buses or convince some of those people to come here, because we're going to need that workforce, and we're going to put them back to work, and they better not worry about it.
Yeah, that True Stitch, for our viewers who may not have seen that, decided to close up its operation in Malone after having been there for a long, long time, and some 400 people. Yeah, let's bring them to Plattsburgh.
Let's bring them to Plattsburgh, or let's get some public transportation and get them down here, because our people are looking to hire people, and we've got more and more companies, and they're looking for a good workforce, and they're just what we're looking for.
We've given people already a general idea what's happening during the open house here today, but let's just talk a little bit more about it. How many clients you have represented here, and who you hope will stop by before it's finished?
We have, last year I believe we had around 50 tenants. This year we have between 75 and 80 tenants. We have 45 to 50 tenants displaying here today, which is up considerably from a year ago. And we have around 1,200 people working on the base with a commitment to around 2,000. There's only 750 civilians working out here when the base closed. So we've made good progress in the last 22 months. Our rental income is up. Our options to buy, we have 12 contracts where people are going to exercise the option to buy when we get title. The signed programmatic agreement, the signed caretaker is in place. We've just got a final copy of the straight lease from the IDA to PARC. And I think we're going to be looking at moving some titles around and taking possession of the EDC portion of it here in October.
September, huh? Everybody's watching for that day and for that moment. That'll be a real. Why is that so important for you?
Well, then we get title, okay, and then the deals that we have. Northeast Printing, Herb Carpenter has an option to buy. Les Miller, Northern Parts has an option to buy. Now we can start conveying title to that property, and when that revenue comes in, we can use it to build more buildings and renovate more buildings and start to create more opportunities. So it's pretty important, and then the military starts to walk away, and that's what we've been working for.
I remember back when PARC first started here, when it wasn't even called PARC back in the early days, when some of the businesses shied away because they weren't quite sure when that title would take place.
Yeah, we've really fixed that. When you have Fortune 100 companies like Pratt & Whitney and their legal team reviewing our leases, and Kelwood Industries, which is a large company coming in, we're in the position where they feel very comfortable with our leases, very secure, and title is going to transfer here in the very, very near future.
That's great. I know you can't reveal the names of those 3 new businesses that you're talking to, but any other plans for the near future that we might be able to excite our viewers with, Dan? I know you're busy every single day.
Well, I'm leaving on the 22nd of July, and I'm going to Farnsboro to the World Air Show.
Wow.
We have a world company over there, a world-class company over there. It's operated and traded publicly in London, and they are. I will be viewing plans for a destination resort hotel, taking over 2 of our hotels in the Officers Club, as well as another division they have is an aviation division. So we've got 3 solid meetings set up and 1 day of travel with these people to visit their facilities in Europe, and then back from there, and we're off to California without coming home to the NAIG conference and a couple of meetings with some home-based corporations in California looking to expand east. So I'll be back around the 8th or the 10th of August, and then we go right into our second meeting with the county, our third meeting with the county legislators on what needs to be done to move the airport and review our flight operations and what the region needs for transportation.
The word aviation has been a big part of the pie since the very beginning, and a lot of local people are just waiting to see what components are going to be part of that future scheme.
Yes, if last night around 6 o'clock, 6:30, the Pratt & Whitney flying test bed, the 720, took off from Plattsburgh and went to Montreal. It'll be returning today, and we'll do a flyover at about 6 o'clock tonight over our business after hours. Maribel Air Service, if you've been out on the runway, we've just cut a big hole in one of our nose docks. And we're expanding it so that we can get bigger airplanes in there, 727s, 737s. That project is looking to be completed here the middle to the end of August, and Maribel should start flying airplanes in here for overhaul and retrofit and completion. This week, Pratt & Whitney flew in their brand new $9 million Learjet, picked up 3 of my staff people, and went on out to Indiana to look at a fuel farm. And we've cut a purchase order, and we'll be putting in a new above-the-ground, environmentally friendly fuel system. 3 20,000-gallon tanks. It should be completed by September. So, you know, we're knocking them off one at a time, and everybody's keeping extremely busy on my staff.
You know, that's one of the reasons we enjoy coming to this open house, not only because it's an educational experience for Calvin and myself, but through the eyes of his hometown cable camera, we're able to get a little news out to the public, because it's important that this North Country know that no grass is growing under your feet and your staff out here.
Boy, that's for sure. You know, and the support the last year, Gordy, you know, we've been at the helm here for 22 months, myself and my staff, and you know, every day is a new challenge, and we're really excited about it. And you know, my guys just do a great job. You know, they keep everything going, new buildings, construction, renovations, contracts, legal, obtaining the property from the military, the FAA. You know, I was really blessed with the management team that I've been able to accumulate here, and this whole day, you know, I was so busy with other projects. You know, 6 of my staff people, headed by Bruce Stedman, our vice president, and they just did a bang-up job. They're really super.
Do you think you've overcome most of the major obstacles that faced you when you first sat down at that lovely chair of yours?
Well, I think there's always going to be obstacles, okay? And the obstacles are really differences of opinion, okay? Always interested in accomplishing the same result, the good of the North Country, but, you know, do we take, you know, the right road or the left road, you know? And those are differences in approaches. But I think what we've done in the last 22 months is it's proven to people that we're all after that same end result. And PARC is willing to sit down and open our ears and open our hearts and listen to the input from other parts of the community if they feel we're doing something that's not right or not working well in the community. And that's I think why we're successful. You know, we formed the ad hoc committee. We did the select thing. We thought they thought they could market yet this year. They want to start marketing early in the summer, early in the spring. So we just bumped it back. The deal's not going away. We just bumped it back. You know, and I think that's what my staff is bringing to the table. A real sincere want to succeed, but not at all costs. You know, the cost is we all have to be together. And if we continue to keep that as our priority, I think we're all going to succeed, and we're going to be here for a while.
We've always known that this was a very special property. We talked about its historic significance with Denny Doyle as we started our program today. But the overall package here is pretty stupendous. I know it's hard to have perspective because you're immersed in it every hour of the day, even in your sleep. I'm sure you dream about making those deals. But when you get a chance to step back and look at it, this is a pretty awesome property here.
It sure is. You know, when you really look at it, you know, 5,000 acres, 3 million square feet under roof, all these historic registered buildings, the value of the Oval, how do we start to take the gates down, supply revenue, tax revenue for the town and the city and the county, with some development without affecting the overall here. Yesterday afternoon, we had a company, some executives fly in from St. Louis, Missouri, and we put them up at our hotel, and they're here today and touring and visiting. And I guess it was about 10:30. Susan and I were sitting out on our porch, which we do just about every night, and the 2 gentlemen and the lady walked across the street from our hotel, and they said, "We can't believe how nice this is here." You know, we're really looking forward to starting our operation here.
Wow.
and doing the building, and everybody. We went out to dinner. We went down to the Mayor's Cup. We had dinner out by the lake. We were down at the Naked Turtle, and you know, that's what makes you feel good. You know, and when you look around, you know, a lot of open bases, don't look as well manicured as what our
did we say?
caretakers.
That's what the
people
first
do.
thing we said. Look at this place. It
And
looks like it never closed.
Yeah, and we're doing it on less money today than we were a year ago, and a year before that, and the year before that. So we're putting processes in and procedures in, where we're using less man hours. We're cutting trees up. We're trimming back, so we can do more on mowers and continue it. And the exciting part is, at 5 o'clock, I'm in my office, 6 o'clock, and I look out here and I see hundreds of kids playing soccer and parents out here.
Great?
That's what this oval is for.
Great?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
This year we had hardball. The high school played their hardball games here, and we had soccer going, and everybody was cooperating and working with each other. So
this place has always been a big part of the fabric of the North Country. When I think fabric, I think about a finished painting, and every day the colors get a little bolder and brighter in that painting. I can't wait to see what it's like someday when you and I can look back and say, yeah, it was worth all those sleepless nights.
Yeah, sometimes it's a little frustrating and you get a little sensitive, but I tell you, the North Country should be pretty proud of itself, with the goals and the accomplishments, and what the Chamber's doing with the border crossing and improving our exposure and the transportation going around here and companies coming in here. I'm serving on a panel next week at the community college, or at the Plattsburgh State, and the topic is sustainable education, and what we got to do is we got to make sure we guarantee a sustainable community for our grandchildren.
I think you're doing that every single breath you take, Dan Winnicky.
We're trying.
I thank you so much for inviting us out here today. Cal and I are going to take a walk around, see who we can meet. And you have a lovely afternoon. Say hello to your wife and family.
I sure will, Gordy.
Tell that daughter yours to keep that golf swing going.
Oh, yeah, she's coming home this week. I'm
Is she
looking
really?
forward to seeing her. Yeah, she's been playing all summer.
Oh, that's great. See you, Dan.
later.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Bye-bye. All right, we're in another tent. The beautiful little breeze just came through to make us feel cool. Who are you?
Daniel Guévremont,
Glad to have you here today. What company is this?
American Frame Welding. We are doing some component for the seat train for Bombardier.
Oh, a lot of people connected with the Bombardier organization, right?
Yes, we came from, our mother company come from Quebec, and we are here to supply the seat train, to supply another company who assembled the seat train for Bombardier.
Explain a little bit like what some of these things are.
This is the main frame of the seat by itself. You have the one guy here and one sit there, and we are all those frame as well by some fixture, very tight tolerance on it, because there is a lot of device to be assembled on each seat. There is a lot of mechanism around that. And yes, this is the part welded, the main frame, and we are doing to all the other component, aluminum and steel too, around these mechanism.
Then somebody else puts the actual seats on, right? Later?
We sell it directly like that to the another company named AMI. And they are the contract to put all together, the seat, all our component, and the fabric, the cushion, and all that stuff.
So how big an operation do you have down here? How many people working for you?
Presently, we are 11 on 2 full night shifts. We run 24 hours a day for 4 hours.
No kidding.
And, oh yes, because the CNC machine, all those parts, most of those parts are done on the CNC milling, and they have to. There is so much part, so many kinds.
I can imagine.
Yes, the machine have to run all night long, 24 hours a day, on 4 days.
How did you get involved with this company? Have you always done this for a living? You?
No, myself. Excuse me. Myself, I worked for another company who supplied the Montreal Casino I manage the contract there. All the with the designer, with the delivery until the delivery, and the company who I knew someone there know me and asked me to start the company down here. And yes, okay.
Okay, we'll try that.
Yes, I'll take a look at the part, the part and what we have to do, all the contract, with who I will work with. When I heard about Bombardier, it's helped a lot, and
That's amazing.
it's a good challenge. Good challenge.
How long have you been down here?
It's 15 months only.
Wow.
Yes, and since it's going very, very good.
Now, what you do, you take individual parts and weld them together, or do you actually make the components yourself?
We are making a compound by itself. All those tubes, we cut the tube, we put the cap on, we do some part is supplied by a Canadian company because we share the same tools, and they need some bracket or some component already up there. For that they do for themselves, and they ship me some on it. But on this part here, we received a big bar, about 10 feet bar like that.
Ooh.
We cut it at our facility.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it. You have the step here. We have the 10-foot bar.
Yeah.
We cut it. It looks like that after cutting.
Yeah.
We put it on the machine, and when it come back from the machine, everything is done like that. And we ship it to black anodizing, and our client received the part like that, ready to be installed. This is the skid underneath here, ready to be installed. And we supplied the other component that fit right on it this way.
And as you said, the tolerances have to be very, very precise, don't they?
Yes, because if Bombardier is very, very fussy on it,
Yeah.
and we have to be right there because, and I understand them because they have too many suppliers that have to be. All the components come from too many suppliers and have to fit all together. And if everybody do a little bit out of tolerance, nothing will be able to be assembled.
It's hard for us laymen to understand how many different things go into making a railroad car or a subway car.
Oh, yes.
How many thousands of components there are. This is just one area. The other companies have to supply all those other things, and like you say, there goes the cannon again.
Yes, and just to give you an idea of what kind of tolerance that we can get is a lot of our tolerance is plus or minus 1,000 of an inch, and an air is a 3 to 5,000. Only a hair it's a
Yeah.
1 to 3 to 5,000 an air, an inch. To give you an idea of what
Better
kind of.
be right, huh?
Yes. It's very easy to be out.
Yeah.
You have to take care.
But I imagine, are these drilled by a computer-operated machine?
Yes, exactly. We have some CNC machinists that do all the programming on the machine, and we have another crew of who can make our tooling up there. They have to talk together, make the tooling done right, and we put the tooling in the machine and make the program to make the part done.
It's amazing. I'm always interested in learning how this stuff is done. We thank you so much for being here and for inviting us down here to talk with you today.
Perfect.
Have a great day.
I'm pleased to meet you too.
See you later.
Okay, bye.
I didn't have to move very far to get to the next display. I just had to turn around. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Who are you?
I'm David Bernard, production supervisor from Bombardier.
Oh, that's great. And you are?
Rayanne Beauregard, planning supervisor.
Great to be here for an open house. The weather is fabulous. Everybody having a good time. Oh, we met a gentleman over here that makes the frames for the seats for Bombardier. I'll never forget the first day I learned that organization was coming to our town. And believe me, there were a lot of people jumping up and down.
You sure was. I was one of them.
Were you really?
I started on day one.
Did you really?
May 1995, so I've been with them since they started here.
Was it May 1995?
We didn't actually
Over
start.
5 years?
We didn't start the production line until August, but in May we were putting in the catwalks and implementing the building. So they hired about 20 of us right off the bat, and we got a good
Are you
jump.
from this area?
From Rouse's Point.
See that? Good people from Champlain and Rouse's Point, right?
There's a lot of people from Rouse's Point.
Quite a few, actually.
How'd you land this job? You heard about it and
I
got
heard
an
about
interview?
it from a friend of the family, and I went and got a head start and went to Barrie and talked to Elaine Reynolds, HR director. She's a supervisor, and I got a heads up on the place, so I had a good head start.
Been with them ever since. How about you?
My husband has actually been with the company for 20 years. We came over from Barrie.
Oh, man. we
But
can
I
even
started-
top you.
I started the same time he did.
Did you really?
Yes. Yeah, and we've been here 5 years now. Yeah, been very happy with it.
You know, it's kind of exciting to see a company like this that's well established in the world scene come into our community and then just, we didn't know what the growing pains would be. We didn't know where the next contract would be for a while, but things are looking great these days.
They're really good right now. They're getting ready to finish the high-speed one, which is out there on the picture, and we're getting ready to set up for Long Island Railroad, which is a 200-car contract with many options if they exercise them. So
That's the one that everybody was waiting for.
that's a real important one. Longevity-wise, is one of our better ones. And New York contract, we'll be shipping those here soon steadily. We've sent 4 train sets out, and they're down in New York going
When you
through
say
them.
4 train sets, what does that involve?
That's 5 cars. There's 2 A-type and 3 B-type cars, and they're put together in a 5-car consist, and they're shipped out as one train. So that's going really well.
In Amtrak, the contract 41 we shipped a loco today, and then we have 2 going next week, which will go and connect with the cars in Barrie to make the train set, and that will go to New York for testing. And
It's just exciting for me. I feel like a little kid because as little kids we all like train sets. You're talking about train sets. We're talking about the real thing. Every once in a while people are allowed to go in Bombardier and look around. And to me it's amazing. The first time I went in there and saw one of these cars being made, I was just in awe of what it takes to get all the subcontractors, to get all the stuff as we were just talking about, intolerance, put it all together and make it work.
Make it work is in the beginning.
the
it's
operative
hard
word,
part
right?
sometimes. Yes, well, we get there, and the customers are awful happy with us. So hopefully things continue to go as well as they are right now.
What do we got back here? Let's just move over and explain to people what that
Metro
is.
North Railroad car. It's a push-pull commuter car. It operates down in the suburbs of the city, in and out of the city. And there's actually 3 types of this car. There's one what's called the cab car. The cab car is on the trail end of the train set, and it'll operate the locomotive from the other end of the train set. And these other cars are put in between just as passenger cars. Although the cab car does have probably 70% of the same passenger area. It's just the controls up here. We just finished one of these, what was it, 60? 60 cars of these just finished in December, so that was another successful contract. And we do the same for New Jersey. They've many of these push-pull type. This is actually the first train, I believe they bought the design from Pullman,
Oh, really?
and they've made changes through the years. This is a Comet 3, but I believe they have a Comet 4 now. New Jersey buys them. Metro North Railroad buys them. They're all part of the MTA down in the city area, so we keep good words up with them down there, and we'll be in good shape. There's a lot of business down there, so.
This is looking maximum speed 100 miles an hour. I had no idea that could go that fast.
This can, if
it
the
could.
locomotive's capable of hauling it that fast. The speed on this one depends on what's pulling it. Whether it's a diesel or electric, it all depends on what the locomotive is.
We
So.
talked about high-speed rails in Europe and the prospect for high-speed rails in the East in the United States, and our tracks up here can't sustain that kind of speed right
they
at this
can't.
point in time.
They can't sustain them at all, not with the rate of travel that they go on. The high-speed rail, which is down in front there, they've had that thing up to maximum speed plus. So
Have they really?
yeah, they fully tested.
You weren't in it, were you?
No, I wasn't one of those.
Fasten your seatbelts. That must be truly amazing.
I can imagine. I've ridden on the high-speed rail over in Germany.
Oh, have you really?
And it's totally awesome. Compared to getting on an Amtrak down to Montreal and going to the city, big difference. Big difference.
A whole different life experience. It's like driving on the Autobahn, right?
Exactly.
A little different from driving on the Northway.
You can get away with quite a bit over there as far as driving on the Autobahn. So the speed is amazing, but you don't really feel it. The comfort zone is awesome with the way the trucks tilt and the technology they have. You don't feel it. It's amazing. You don't know how fast you're going until you pass another train or a telephone pole or something that's, like a mile marker or something. It's just
got a
amazing.
little frame of reference there when it goes. Have you ever had a chance to ride on any of the finished products?
No, I haven't.
Never?
No, not yet.
I think we better get you guys a tour here to get you
I've
going.
been on, you can see it from here over in Curtis Door Systems. They used to be SMC, and that Jacksonville car, I went down to Jacksonville and we set that up, so I was able to operate and ride on that, so it's quite amazing. You don't know what you're actually putting out there until you're in the damn thing and it's running, because it's amazing. It's really amazing.
How many people work here at Bombardier in Plattsburgh?
The numbers
Would you
are
like to
so
guess?
staggering right now.
How many?
Between 600 and 650, I think.
Really? Right now?
With all 3 shifts it is. With the subway contract, on days right now we have 83 people, and that's just on one line, so that does include the other lines that are in the building. So with the 3 shifts, it's got to be 600 plus.
And there are other Bombardier plants. You have one in Barrie, right?
One in Barrie and one in Auburn in the U.S. Then they have maintenance facilities all over. Los Angeles, New York City, Boston, Washington, somewhere in Orlando, Florida for the Disney. And they have another one in Jacksonville now. That's for 5 years, I believe. Anywhere we put a train out, we have to go and keep service for a certain amount of time, depending on the contract. Some are longer.
Contract 41, on the NEC program right now, we have 3. So we have one in Boston, one in Philadelphia, and one in Washington. Just the maintenance service right now.
Service at one train set.
Isn't that neat? Well, we are so proud to have you guys as an organization and to have local people working. A lot of the people who work on your lines are right from this area.
From all over the northern tier, all over. They drive up from Malone. I've got guys working for me that come up from Crown Point.
Do you really?
Yes.
That's a little jaunt.
Ross's Point, Scioto, you name it, all around here. The whole northern, they're all part of it.
That's great. Well, the bottom line is jobs. Bombardier has brought a lot of jobs here, as of all these other companies that are represented here today, and that can only mean good things for you and me in the future of the North Country, right?
Yes. Yep.
Well, thanks so much for inviting us here today. Good luck to both of you.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, we collared Gary Douglas from the Chamber of Commerce on his way through. How are you, Gary?
Excellent, Gordy. How are you today?
You are on radio and television and in newsprint more than I ever dreamed of being these days.
I have to have a second career ready, you never know.
This is a real nice day, and this just fits very nicely into that big pie, doesn't it? Huh?
Sure does. It's I'll tell you, this is a great chance for folks, and it's too bad those who missed it, to come out here and get a look at a good sampling of the companies that are here at PARC. A number of them I'm sure folks haven't heard of. Or if they have heard of them, they really don't know what it is they do. They heard that, Trans Ed, they might have read that name in the paper, but what do? Well, they're going to come here and they're going to see the kind of rail assemblies that they make, or Wood Group over here. They'll see the engines that they work on. There's some real interesting stuff being done by some of these companies out here. And I think one of the neatest things here today, chance people to get around and learn about the companies that are here.
We've said that. That's one reason why we came last year for the first, and that's why we were glad to come back the second year to show the public that there's a
applying for
lot
jobs here too.
Oh, you got that right. We just talked to the people from Bombardier with their huge staff, and goodness knows how many people are going to be working there on any given day. All this is good for the North Country. You and I have talked about this dozens of times, but I like the way things are happening. You've had some pretty exciting news to reveal yourself over the last few months about things that are going on. You're a pretty busy guy.
Well, it's a pretty busy area, so if you're in a busy area, and the chamber president's going to be busy. So.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your connection. You've been connected with PARC for a long time.
I'm vice chairman through good times and bad, and it's been a roller coaster, but it was always going to be a real roller coaster ride.
It's the nature of the beast. No matter who's in there or what's happening, it's not going to be an easy job.
You close a 5,000-acre military facility, and particularly in such a shocking way as this one was, such an unexpected event as this one was, and a community's going to grapple for a while with what to do with that, how to do it, how things are going to unfold. But I'll tell you, looking across the country, this community has grappled with it better, come to terms with it better. For all the inevitable controversies and all the inevitable disagreements they're going to go with how you use every square foot in a 5,000-acre facility. And there are going to be more disagreements and controversies in the future. You can't avoid that. But for all of that, the success is real, the success is recognized, and it's a success story not for PARC but for the North Country, because it came together better than any other area has come around the challenge of putting a former military base to good private sector use. And I stress private sector use. Now, I truly regard PARC as the first private sector redevelopment success story of any base in the country.
You don't mind getting up on our little pedestal here, because if we don't crow about it, who's going to do it, right?
I'll tell you, the others that claim to be success stories, yeah, they've brought some employment, but they're all based around public employment. That's what made them a success. Oh, they got some military facility to come back in, National Guard or something. Or they put a prison up on their base. Or they got some government agency to move its offices there. Well, that's fine, but that's not private sector tax-paying jobs. What's happened here at PARC is probably for the best in the long run, although it hurt in the beginning. It's probably best for us in the long run that those things didn't happen, that the government largesse didn't come back in here and throw something on the table. We had to do it the hard way. All the jobs here, almost 1,200 of them today, on Plattsburgh Air Force Base, which by the way is twice as many jobs as there were here civilian when the Air Force was here, are all private sector. They're all private companies here, private payrolls, paying taxes. That's a remarkable story.
And to use an old comment, you ain't seen nothing yet. When we come back here in the summer of 2001, the whole panorama will have changed, because the titles will be.
The titles are going to change. We've got some, as is seen here today, we've got some exciting tenants here on the base that are really going to blossom over the next year. Pratt & Whitney, certainly at the top of that list. It's the best is yet to come. Things are good already, but the best is yet to come.
You gotta love your job. I'm sure some days when I love
the North Country. I love the North Country, and if you love the North Country, you gotta love a job where you get to work on things for the North Country.
We've talked about this so many times on this program. You and I have talked about it before. It's important, if you're going to do something, to develop a passion. I feel badly for people who don't have a passion for their employment, and I've always done that. But I have a passion for this area. I have a passion for this property right here, for all the reasons you know and some you don't even know. So that's what pleases me about coming here today, after all the doom and gloom, which I have to admit I was caught up in when they made that announcement that this base was going to close. I was grief stricken
for a while.
But look at this.
Yep.
Look at this, folks. And the
Back
future.
on our feet and slugging away.
And the future is tremendously bright.
It is. I'll tell you. The other thing that's notable about the companies you see around here, and what's happening at PARC and at the Development Corporation and elsewhere here in the area too, is the nature of these companies. You look at the technology that's being applied here.
Wow.
This isn't packaging or warehousing work or low skill assembly kind of work. And not that there's anything wrong with good employment like that, and a well-rounded economy needs all kinds of jobs. But what we see here are exactly the kinds of jobs that everybody in the country is saying, gee, how do we get those kinds of jobs in our area? And right around this circle, we've got at least a dozen companies that are just that kind of cutting-edge, R&D, high-tech kinds of companies that everybody else would die to have. And we've got at least a dozen of them right here at PARC.
Isn't that neat?
It is.
We've mentioned the word tourism at least 5 times since we started this program today. How can we help it? What is that picture looking like to you this summer?
Well, of course, weather hasn't been kind.
No.
So
I mean, you string out about 35 in a row like today.
Yeah, it'll help. Hopefully, the rest of the summer stays like this. The campgrounds and other activities that are so weather dependent will recoup some of what they lost in the spring. But overall, things remain good. You look at sales tax revenues, hotel occupancy. For a number of reasons, things are certainly better than they were last year. And they were better last year than they were the year before. We're not back to the heyday of 1990, 91, 92 when the Canadian exchange rate was so low, and we might never be. And any more than Plattsburgh Air Force Base is going to be what it was in 1990. It's going to be something different. And I think the tourism economy here in this area is evolving into something different that may in the long run actually be something stronger. I think more event driven, more Adirondack and Lake Champlain driven, less dependent on just attracting the bargain hunting Canadian, but attracting visitors of all kinds, U.S. and Canadian, are coming more for more substantive reasons. I think particularly things are happening in Lake Placid are real exciting for this region, and they are just as relevant to Plattsburgh as they are to Wilmington. When we see the venues modernized over there, when we see the Goodwill Games come, when we see the Adirondack Sports Commission talking about bringing the Winter Olympics back to this region,
Yeah.
I think with tourism as well, there are good times ahead.
And
a lot of work to do, but good times ahead.
And the plans now becoming very serious plans for the interpretive center here on the former old base, not too far from where we're standing now. If that dream ever comes true, I hope I'm here to enjoy it.
I think it is going to come true. It makes too much sense. Number one, the facilities are here. Number two, our location is excellent. We're not isolated. We are on I-87. We are near population centers. We are near other attractions. And finally, you said it before, passion. There are some people that are very passionate about that, Chris Ortloff and others. And that kind of passion is very likely to deliver results. I think it's starting to.
I think July 13th is a pretty good day in the North Country in 2000. That's the day we're taping this program. Goodness knows when it'll be aired, but I know it'll be enjoyed well into the future. And Calvin and I like to think that what we do is a little part of history. And I know you've been part of the North Country history for a few years now, and I know you enjoy being there.
Very much so, and in fact, as you know, my family history in this area goes back several generations, and I'm very pleased to be part of an exciting time in the North Country. I think this is truly one of the most exciting times in this region, probably in the last 100 years.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree. Gary Douglas, thanks so much for all you do, and thanks for chatting with us for a minute today.
Okay, take care.
Well, we just saw a young teenager that walked up here that thought he would talk to us on television. Jim Keeble, how you doing?
Excellent, Gordy. It's good to see you here.
Look at how perfect that handkerchief is in the pocket.
I compliment my wife. She lays out my clothes.
Oh, she does? My wife does too, and I'm proud of it. Yes. How you been, Jim?
Excellent. I'm glad to be here. It's a nice exhibit. It's bigger and better than I thought it would be.
You know, we always use that phrase, bigger and better. Last year they had 2,000 people for the first open house, but this year they really went whole hog, didn't they?
Oh, they sure did, and they've got some people in the exhibits that are very cooperative and explaining everything that they're showing or manufacturing, and down to layman's terms so you can understand it.
You know, it makes me feel good to see this happening. We've talked with Gary Douglas, we've talked with Dan Winnicky, we've talked with the people involved with PARC. It's great to see this kind of progress and growth.
It sure is, and nobody seems to be impressed with what they're doing. They seem to want to communicate to everybody who's here or interested, and that makes it a nice event.
So what's going on in your life, James?
I'm still practicing law, still happy, and raising grandchildren instead of children.
How many grandchildren now?
We have 11 grandchildren and one great-grandchild.
Oh, you think you'll ever catch us? We're up to 19 and 11 in those two categories.
I'm done working, but I hope my kids continue.
Jim, thanks for stopping and talking with us today. Have a great day.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
That's Jim Keeble. Listen, folks, I hope you support your local area in any way you possibly can. I hope you enjoy that passion that Gary Douglas and I were just talking about. We've got it, and we hope we can engender a little bit of it in you. If we left you with anything here today, there goes Randy. Hey, Randy. If we left you with anything today, may we leave you with this a little saw. Pay attention to this North Country, enjoy it, and respect the earth, and support the events that happen in your own backyard instead of spending all your time griping and complaining about the way things are. Get involved with your community, your church, your school, your government, and make the changes so that you won't gripe anymore. That's all we can ask. Getting involved in the North Country is a very important thing to do. We live in a great cohesive unit here called the North Country. Clinton, Essex, Franklin counties, and I can include St. Lawrence and some of the other adjacent counties, are a pretty special place to live. And we're very jealous about our northeastern corner of New York State, and we are just so excited about its future. If we haven't proved it today, then we'll never prove anything. And who knows where we're going to be next time.